All right, this is a Delphuino project update, and I'm going to make it quick for the fact that I want to make a more in-depth version once this is in the computer. God, this thing is just moving all over the place. I want to make more in-depth version of it once it's actually in the stock P59, and I have it running exactly the way I want, but I'm going to update you on what I have. So I actually made this boost controller here. It works well for what it's supposed to do, and that's just supposed to control the Mac valve. And I'll kind of just go over quickly on what's going on here. So I have the Arduino Nano set up here, and basically what it does is it needs to control, don't mind the map sensor, I'll talk about this at the very end. But what it does is it controls this MOSFET switch. It's way faster than a relay, and it's not mechanical, so it can handle, what is it, like 60 kilohertz or whatever frequency, which is way more than what I need. But what it does is it's hooked up to the MOSFET switch, and the MOSFET switch is hooked up to the the Mac valve, and the Mac valve runs off the voltage regulator. Basically, this is 12 volts that comes in. There is a voltage regulator right there. It's really tiny. You can see it, that little guy right there. And what it does is it takes a 12 volt signal and it splits it out into a 5 volt. That's what powers the Arduino and all the other sensors. And then 12 volt goes to basically this MOSFET switch. And then the Arduino triggers the MOSFET switch with a 5 volt signal, and that'll kick off this. This runs off PWM, and it runs out of, I have it set to a frequency of about 30.64 hertz. What seems to work just fine. You can get in a duty cycle range of like 25 to 70. Anything over 70, it basically is just open. It doesn't really do anything. So what I did was I programmed 4 different settings in here, and the setting 0 is basically, it would be just wastegate. So as you can hear, the Mac valve isn't running, it's not doing anything. And then if you run setting number 1, you can hear it pulse. It's running at like 30% duty cycle right now. So I'd be curious to see what it'll do or what it'll run at for boost. And that's what's nice with this, is once this is plugged into the reference line, it'll tell you what you're getting for max boost. And if you're not getting enough for what you want, you up it to level 2, which is 45% duty cycle. And again, you'll be able to see what boost you're running at based on what the turbos are putting out. And then, of course, if it's still not enough, you crank it one more time, and that's 60% duty cycle. And in my instance, it'll probably, I would assume that would max out the 2-bar map sensor. This is a 2.5, so this is kind of like I hope to be like a fail-safe feature to where this is like stage 2 setup where I'm actually getting the boost controller going, but I'd be able to program to where if this read anything over like 15 PSI, 16 PSI, it'll just cut power to this. That way, if the duty cycle is too high, it can kill this, or if this failed for whatever reason, depending on how I hooked it up to the reference line, it would kill this, and it would go back to spring pressure. And I plan on I have an 8-pound springs in the car right now, and I plan on putting like a 5-pound spring in each wastegate, just to drive around in. And then of course, that would just be like your driving range. And then when I want to up the boost, it's level 1, 2, and then 3 for Uncle Rodney to just shoot outside the block. So that's what I have right now. It works. It does what it needs to. So we're gonna slap this in the P59 that I have, and the earlier video that I have on my channel. You can see that I put the Spartan2 OEM wideband controller in this the case. So I'm going to split the signal that goes to the computer that I can log in HP tuners, and I'm going to add it to one of the analog pins on here. That way I get my correct AFR that I can program. And then this will go by my ignition panel, not my actual gauge cluster, by my ignition panel. And then this will just be its own separate animal. And then I have mentioned about my gauges, that'll just be a separate Arduino gauge cluster setup that'll run off of the serial 2 data from the computer. So this is just for the boost control, AFR display, And then the other stuff is just the gauges that I'm going to build separately for that I'll go over in my channel. But we got it. It seems to be working. And once I get this up and going, I am going to post all of my code on like GitHub, and it should have enough information there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to update kind of like this drawing, probably make a better one, and then just do like a basic layout of how I built it. And that way you can order your own parts and you can do this yourself. I would like to have guys that are a lot smarter than me do this and maybe continue to keep upgrading this and do their own thing with it, because I'd like to see where this could go. I don't like to keep this stuff hidden. I like to have other guys out there that are like way smarter than me, that have a lot more drive and willing to make more of what this is. But I'm also going to update this eventually. I'm going to hook this up to the speedo output from the PCM, and then hopefully be able to do like boost by speed and do that, and adjust duty cycle based on speed, and then also by the TPS sensor. So like if you're under 50% throttle, it's not going to do anything. But if you're over 50% and it goes, okay, what mile per hour are you at? I'm going to give you this much duty cycle and he's going to give you this much boost. So that'll probably be like stage 3 or 4, depending on what I decide to do. But I'm going to continue to keep doing this as I build my car. And the fact that this is all DIY open source stuff it is awesome, because anybody can do this. It's open to anybody to use their imagination and do whatever they want. So yeah, that's the quick update. That's all I'm going to do. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Post comment and I will answer them the best I can. You guys take care. Bye.